Thanks for tuning in, guys. Today's video, I want to talk about HPA. Not just what HPA is, but also how to get into it. I got a lot of friends recently who have been interested in getting into HPA. They want to either build out their own HPA gun, or they want to buy one or have me build them one, but they just don't know how to get into it. You know, some guys want to just put a HPA tap adapter in their pistol and then run that with the tank and stuff. So today's video, I kind of want to go over what HPA is and how to get into it at a budget level. And then we're going to do a build for a friend of mine, and we're going to kind of go over the cheapest way sort of to get an HPA gun built. All right, so for starters, let's go over what HPA is. HPA is high pressure air. It uses an engine similar to this or something like this. This one is on the cheaper side of the HPA engines. There are similar ones like this, like the Polar Star Jack. This one actually is a beta product that I bought from a new company called Backdraft Innovations. This is their Phoenix engine. This only cost me $250 brand new. But that being said, it is a beta product, but it functions just like a Polar Star Jack, and Polar Star Jacks go for about $350. So this is going to be the start of the budget build, is a budget HPA engine. On the more expensive side of the HPA engines, we have a Polar Star Fusion. This is about a $550 engine brand new, and it functions, I mean, pretty much the same. It pushes air out the front, but it has much more tunability. There are many more things that you can do with the Polar Star Fusion, especially if you're an advanced HPA player. But this is what you're going to look at if you're into the higher end of the HPA stuff. Now, to go along with an HPA engine, you're going to need some stuff to make it work. You're going to need, obviously, a body to put it inside, a receiver, and then, you know, you put your stock on here, your rail on the front, whatever grip you want. But essentially, you're going to have a gearbox that your engine goes into, or with the Fusion, it's already pre-made. It's already a gearbox. You just throw this in here, build out your gun however you want it, and now your gun is an HPA gun. To go with it, though, to make it function, you're going to need an HPA tank. Holds air, high pressure air, not CO2, not anything besides just high pressure air. This is a pretty good one that I've got here. It's carbon fiber, it's very light, but you can get a cheaper one if you want. You're also gonna need a regulator. This is how you regulate your PSI for your high pressure air. You adjust it and you make your HPA, your PSI go up or down as needed or as wanted for the field. And then right in here goes your line. I got myself a braided line right here. One end goes into the tank, the other end goes into your engine. Connects just like this, and now you have your HPA air hooked up. To go along with the air and the engine, you're going to need an FCU. It's a fire control unit. You connect your battery to this, and then you connect your engine right here. And this basically is the electronic board that controls your rate of fire, your trigger response, your dwell, all the little, the minutia of the engine itself is controlled by this. And then lastly, you're gonna need a LiPo battery. You put this battery into your FCU to power it. And this is, you know, you can get a much smaller one than this. I have several of varying sizes, but you can get them real small, you know, and so you don't have to worry as much about battery space in your rifle when you're using a HPA. But that's about it for what you're gonna need for HPA. You're gonna need a tank, a line, a regulator, an HPA engine, an FCU, a battery, and then a donor body to put it inside, an empty HPA or an empty M4 shell to put everything inside of. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's get into the build. Let's see what I've got so far. And for today's video, we're just going to finish getting everything installed in the gearbox. And then once we have the gearbox ready to go inside of our donor body, we're going to make another video where we put all that together and we get the gun finished for the guy that I'm building it for. So let's get to it.
Yeah, you just stay right there. This is gonna be good.
Welcome to my newest project video. I've been inspired recently by some friends of mine who have decided that they would like to get into HPA, but it's a bit too expensive to get into for some of them, and for others, they're just not sure what the best engine is or the best way to get into it is. And so I decided I'd put together like a budget HPA build. I'm gonna go from the bottom up and I am going to put together an HPA gun for you guys, and I'm going to start with the engine. For this engine, I went with a new company, Backdraft Innovations. This is actually a beta model engine. It's called their Phoenix engine, and it is an HPA engine very similar to the Polar Star Jack. It doesn't have quite as many fine-tuning capabilities as far as the FCU, but you get multiple firing modes, you get full auto, you get tunability as far as fire rate. So the Backdraft Innovations Phoenix actually comes in at about $250. I added a couple of features to it, so I got my price up a little bit to $274, but then I used the code Phoenix Beta and I got $20 off my order. So my order ended up coming out to about $262 total for everything that's in here, which is significantly cheaper than the Polar Star Jack, which is about $350. I suppose it's the most comparable in price to the Polar Star Kythera, but that is not a fully electric HPA. I believe that's a pneumatic, and it only fires in single fire. So in my opinion, this is a better value for the money, but let's see how it is. So let's get into the contents of this package from Backdraft Innovations. All right, first up, it looks like we have the trigger board and FCU. Then it looks like we have some volume spacers. These go inside the engine depending on how long your inner barrel is going to be. You'll want a different amount of volume coming through your engine. You don't want a high amount of volume or a low amount of volume depending on just kind of what length of barrel. So since we're going with a medium length barrel, we're going to be using the one that has the M on the side right here, the medium length barrel. So we won't be needing these other two volume spacers. So we'll put that aside. Oh, we got a cool patch, beta tester, because like I said before, this product still is technically in beta. So you get the cool looking color pattern on it and you get the patch with it. All right, here's the engine itself. Appears as though it's had some sort of sticker removed from the rear here. Still got some sticker residue, so I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but for now we'll set that aside. Here's our line, and here is our wiring harness. So this part will go into the this part will go into the trigger board, and then back here will go into the FCU and the battery. All right, really, this is all we need. Oh, never mind. Sorry. We have our maintenance kit and our actual plug for the HPA line to go to. This will go on the end here. But now that we've got all the stuff that we're going to need, all we'll need to go along with that is this gearbox here and our speed trigger. All right, so let's get into the installation. All right, the very first thing we want to do is take our gearbox apart. There are several screws on the exterior of the gearbox that you want to take out, and then the gearbox itself just splits apart. All right, before we split it, one key part of the gearbox that you're going to want to take note of is this selector switch right here. This guy will put your gun into safe, and it will go semi, and then it will go full. Full means that this button right here is depressed. Safe means that it's, or semi means that it's not depressed, and safe means that this little latch is pushed all the way forward. So those are the three different modes for your selector switch, and this is where the selector switch interacts with your gearbox, just in case you didn't know. Set the gearbox top, or actually we'll set this part of the gearbox aside for now. And this part of the gearbox, screws will come out. That's why we got this nifty new mat to hold all of our screws for now. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the old trigger board for the Polar Star that I used to have in this gearbox. Securing this trigger board into the gearbox the way that it's supposed to go. Which is right there just like that. I take that same screw I just removed out. Put it back in. Hand tight. Check the other side. Make sure that the button's in the right place. Right there. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to make sure that the trigger fitment is fine. I'm going to drop this trigger in there. And as you can see, or I guess you can't see, but right in here, there's a little trigger activating lever. And that's where this part of the trigger right here touches and pushes in. So when you get that in there, and it's pivoting on its axis, it should be pushing in that lever right there. All right, so the trigger board's in. We're going to get to the next part. Next up, we're going to be connecting our wiring harness, and we're going to get the engine ready to put into the gearbox. So on this wiring harness, the big plug-in goes in right here on the trigger board. Okay, that's in there. And then this other end right here will go into the engine. And then we're going to run our wiring harness out the back of our gearbox and then up through into the stock. So for now, the wiring harness is in place and we're going to get this engine ready. We're going to start off by opening up the front of it. And we're going to install our volume reducer. So in order to do that, we put this in, take a coin, go backwards until you hear a click. There you go. And that'll prevent it from cross-threading. And do it again just to make double sure. There you go. And go forward. All right. Volume reduces in there. We're going to go ahead and lube this up, put it back together. Well, that's a cute little vial of lube. Down. Always want to make sure you lube your O-rings. Otherwise they can dry out and you'll leak air and you won't know why. A lot of times it's a dried out O-ring. Alright, then we should be able to reassemble the engine. Hand tightening should be enough. Next, we're going to put the line on here. We do that by threading this adapter onto the inside here. All right, engine's ready to go into the gearbox. We're going to go ahead and connect these two lines together. All right. Then this gearbox should just sit right up in here. We're going to run the line, like I said, to the back here, so we're going to get that all tucked down. We'll run this line through the grip. All right, now we've got it all laid out. We've got our guide plug in the back. We've got the wiring run through this, the line run through the grip line, trigger in place. Everything's lined up, wires are out of each other's ways. We're gonna go ahead and try to get this gearbox on here. All right, try out this trigger. All right, feels nice. Gearbox is tight together. We're gonna go ahead and get it resealed. You wanna make sure you put your long screws in your long holes and your short screws in your short holes. Hand tighten here, there's no need to over tighten. All right, there we go, guys. There's our assembled HPA gearbox. Selector switch is working, trigger is working, or at least functioning, moving. Everything's nice and tight in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the line connected right here. Push that all the way in there as far as it'll go. And then you just tighten the screw back up to secure the line. Next up, we're going to go ahead and connect the FCU and give that a test. And we're going to set the firing mode. So to do that, we take our FCU right here, connect it to the back of the grip cable. Or not the grip cable, but the stock cable. Then we're going to want to connect our battery. All right, now in order to set this to single fire and full auto, we're gonna wanna hold the trigger down for 3 seconds, and then we're gonna put it into full auto for 3 seconds. Or yeah, we're gonna switch the selector to full auto for 3 seconds. So 1, 2, 3. All right, now we are in fire selection mode. So now we're gonna hold this down for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So now it should be full auto. Now when we pull down the trigger, we should hear that going in full auto. Yikes.
3 days later.
All right, so it turned out that either there was a problem with the FCU, the wiring harness, or the trigger board on the inside. Either way, I reached out to the owner of Backdraft Innovations that same day. He answered his phone immediately when I explained to him the problem. He was apologetic. He was also helpful with understanding what the issue was, what it could have been caused by. And then he said he was going to get me a brand new FCU wire harness and trigger board tested and sent out that same day express so that it would get to me and I could finish the build by the end of the weekend. And sure as shit, it arrived. I set it all back up, installed everything, and check it out. Let me plug the battery in. There we go. Let's put it in full auto. Listen to this. So yeah, this thing is ready to go. So here's another thing that I wanted to go over about the build process of an HPA gun with a speed trigger in it. And that's the tuning of the trigger itself. When you get one of these tunable speed triggers, it's going to have 2 set screws in it. Right here and right here. Sorry if you can't see that. Right here and right here. Now, this front screw that goes up right here controls how much the trigger goes back and forth before it activates the trigger board. And the second screw right here goes at an angle this way, and it actually stops the trigger after it's activated so that it doesn't go too much past the activation point, and then you got yourself a really long trigger pull. So I've actually adjusted this thing to about its maximum setting for tightness. So check out how small it moves. That's all the trigger pull that I've adjusted it to, so that you don't have to worry about having any sort of like long trigger pull. There's no spring in here, so it's really easy to activate. You could do the speed softer thing where you just spam it from the side, or if you're not really into the speed soft thing, it's just nice to have a short trigger pull. You know, you can make follow-up shots faster. Just take your little Allen key and just move these until the trigger goes to activate, and then tighten it to where it just doesn't move any farther after that, and then tighten this one down until it activates, and then just wind it back just a little bit so that you have a little bit of play, and then you can just have the lightest, shortest trigger pull possible. In the next video, I'm going to be installing it in this body with a really, really cool conversion kit that my buddy who I'm building it for picked out. I'm going to go over the installation of that and the entire rest of the setup process for this HPA gun in the next video. So go ahead and tune into that one, and I'll see you next time.
Bibbidi-bop-de-bebop, and that's all, folks. Yeah.